Hi, Gavin.
Hi, Louie.
I'm so excited to be here.
I am too.
Welcome, everyone, to The Mixed Reviews.
The Mixed Reviews is a podcast where we take a movie subject, such as an actor or director or a mini genre, and we take 2 weeks and we watch as many movies as we can, and we talk to you about what's best and what's worst about it.
Yeah, we mix it up. We deep dive. We get all into the ooey gooey bits.
You made physical motions when you deep dived.
Listen, I'm a physical actor. I'm someone from the stage. That's my background. So.
I just want to point out that that's not me. I'm much more of the Swim Fan 01 type, where I'm just sitting behind a computer going, "You're doing great, Louie."
Okay, first of all, love that movie. Swim Fan. Whatever the lead character.
I like that you called it Swim Fan 01 as if we could expect a new version of it soon, which
I hope so.
I want one.
That's what.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you guys are hearing our very special guest, Mr. Joe Reid himself.
Oh, Joe Reid.
I jumped the gun. I'm sorry.
No. So when Swim Fan comes up, you got to jump in.
First of all,
that's true. I saw my shot and I
took it.
Dove in at it.
Yeah. First of all, one of my biggest pet peeves about listening to a podcast is when I know there's a guest because it says it in the title, and I have to listen.
It's somewhat stressful.
Exactly. You listen to the host for 10 minutes, beat around the bush, and then it's like,
no.
Oh, here's our guest.
Yeah, we're not going to do that here. Not here. No. Not in this house. But we have Joe Reid of This Had Oscar Buzz. We had your lovely co-host Chris on earlier a couple episodes ago. We talked about, what did we talk?
We talked about Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore. I was seething with jealousy, which is why I had to barge down your door and demand that I got to participate because he got to talk about Julianne Moore.
Was it you tweeted something about how upset you were that you weren't in the conversation about soaps?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. You guys were talking about soaps, and I was like, I know about soaps.
It's okay. I only had to cut out a half an hour of that.
Right.
Oh, God. I love it. I love that so much.
We talked about, obviously, the queen herself, Julianne Moore, and it's funny, you're here now to talk about another queen, a dame even.
Yes. Ooh.
Indeed, yes.
We're talking today about Dame Emma Thompson. So exciting, but before we get into that, hold on to your Emma Thompson excitedness, because we do have some old business. Our last episode, we talked about Keanu Reeves, and I completely forgot to put it in the poll, but Gavin didn't, so thank the Lord.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you. So we asked you guys to go online and vote for what your favorite Keanu Reeves movie is, or your best performance, whatever you want to quantify your Keanu feelings. And here's the results. My pick, River's Edge, came in at last place with 15%. A Scanner Darkly, which was your pick, was at 17%. The Matrix came in at 27%. And John Wick came in at first at 41%. The kids love the new stuff.
They do love the new stuff. And I will say, I was under no illusion that either Louie or my pick was going to win.
Was this the first time that we both came in
oh yeah, dead last.
Last.
But I will say both River's Edge and A Scanner Darkly are completely worth watching if you have not seen them, and do still seek them out in between your repeat viewings of John Wick 3
Parabellum.
Yeah. Exactly.
Joe, if you had to pick one Keanu moment, which one would you pick?
I mean, I kept trying to write Speed in on my computer screen, and it wouldn't register a write-in vote.
Right.
So.
No. We had a couple
of those four.
We had a couple people say Speed, though.
Yeah, we definitely did.
I think Speed is the movie that best captures everything that you want from Keanu, where it's it's actiony, but it's a little dumb, but it's funny in a weird way, and it was his peak hotness in terms of a male action starness, where even The Matrix, he looks like a porcelain doll face. You know what I mean? He's very sort of pale and whatever. He
was very fragile.
Yeah.
Speed was the one where he was closest to ever becoming a hunk.
Well, also, I would say between Speed and Point Break. Because Point Break,
for sure,
both have different hair stories.
Very much so, yes. But in conversation with one another. Which
yes,
I like.
Yes, back and forth, if you will.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
I very much don't get the John Wick thing. I say that having seen none of them, but I'm I probably
I don't get it, and I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care to. I'm very Lucille Bluth about that whole thing. I don't know what you're talking about, and I won't respond
Just
to
slowly
it,
closing the door as you look suspicious.
Yes, that is. I'm every Lucille Bluth gif except for Gene Parmesan when it comes to John Wick.
Excellent. Great. Well, Keanu, we love you.
Right.
You ride off onto your horses, stabbing people in John Wick movies to, infinity.
It's Budapest and beyond.
Yeah, based on how much money it's making, it seems like that's what it is.
It's unreal how much money it's making.
Yeah.
But anyway,
You did it, kids. You saved the John Wick series.
Yeah, John Wick. Thank the Lord. But moving on, let's get into some Emma Thompson. Now, as I heard, you told me that Joe requested
I did.
Emma Thompson. So,
I did.
Joe, what's the scoop?
Well, I know you guys tend to try and pair your upcoming episodes with stuff that's being released, and I knew that she was going to be in this movie Late Night with Mindy Kaling, which I was not at Sundance, so I did not get a chance to see.
Oh, you didn't make it to Sundance this year? Oh my god.
I know. I still haven't. One of these years, man, I'm going to take it by storm. But I haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited to, and I think it's her in a little bit of like a different scenario than normal. I feel like we haven't seen her in like an American broad comedy maybe in a while. Although I did watch Junior today.
Okay,
so
good.
We'll have to talk about that.
Confirmed. We all saw Junior for this.
Excellent.
Yes.
Good.
We all had to see that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one.
It's
mandatory.
It really is the like universal unifier in terms of Emma Thompson's career.
Truly. No, but I've always loved Emma Thompson. I think she's such an interesting actress, and I feel like sometimes because she isn't American, and sometimes we don't really loop her in with like sort of the major sort of actress conversation, which tends to in America be like, you know, Kidman, Streep, Julianne Moore, Cate Blanchett, like that. And like Emma is sometimes sort of outside of that because of, you know, how she makes movies. She's sort of, you know, seems to stay in England a lot. But I feel like we should have her in that conversation more because she's phenomenal and you know, has had a very interesting career.
Yeah, and I think it's funny though because even you're right, she's not in that conversation a lot, but when you do see her pop up, you're like, oh my god, wait, I love her.
Yeah.
That's the thing, yeah.
It's like she's charming. I mean, and I read a lot of articles in The Guardian or in the Independent, like British press, and they have like very complicated feelings, I guess, towards her.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I didn't either. And it's funny that they're like, Americans are so charmed by her. And I'm like, you know what? We fucking are, okay?
This is why talk to an Australian person about Nicole Kidman. It's very interesting.
Oh my god, what do they think?
Where you don't always get the same kind of reactions that you get here. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of times you'll get that sort of just like, oh, she thinks she's like too good for us.
Right.
Which is interesting.
I mean, honestly,
wait. So, what do they think about Emma Thompson? I'm fascinated.
Well, at one point, she was referred to by the British press as the most annoying woman in all of Britain.
Wow.
It's because she's so politically outspoken, which is one of the facets I really like about her.
Yeah, I watched a full like 15-minute thing on The Guardian about her like at the ice caps with her daughter, and I was like, that's fucking cool.
And I watched an interview with her where she talked about that because she did it through Greenpeace, and Greenpeace has never done a celebrity ambassador before, and so she talked about getting on the boat with the Greenpeace people and them being kind of like, oh, she's a celebrity, but it was really important to her to you know, get this environmentalist message out there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think it's like she, though, to me, like she is what patriotism like actually should look like, you know, dissent and like pushing it back against like authoritarian governments and like really fighting for like what's good in the world. And so she's great. I mean, anyone that can like say fuck off to your government and country and then like still fight for like good things is boss in my book.
Yeah,
she's like 1990s Susan Sarandon before we all got mad.
Yes, yeah,
10,000%.
That's such a good. I enjoyed that a lot.
Settle into that a little bit. Should we get into our rewind?
Absolutely.
I had the very lucky job this episode to get into Emma Thompson's past, and I think she's so interesting. People mostly know her because she's like cunning and witty and like has this very specific sense of humor. It all comes from like the way she was raised. So she was born in Paddington, London on April 15th, 1959. Her mom is Philidia, is that how you say it?
I think it's Philida.
Philida Law.
I think.
You're our guest. We will defer to you.
I heard that. I've heard that before. She's a Scottish actress, and she also is in a lot of Emma's movies through her career. Her father is English, Eric Thompson, who was also involved in theater, and he was a writer of a popular children's TV series called The Magic Roundabout. So,
Fun fact about the Magic Roundabout,
please.
It was originally a French show. There was about 200 episodes, and his task was to take it in a very Power Rangers-y sort of way and rewrite it to redub it in English, and he hated the show. And he thought the guy that created the show was a big idiot. She talked about it in an interview, actually.
My father, who hated the French, openly, was very rude, in fact, to Serge Dono, who created those puppets. There was never much warmth between them. And he would sit at this funny little machine, which he would work with his foot, and it was reel-to-reel, and he would sit writing these scripts. As a little girl, I stood at his feet watching him just sitting there with these headphones on with this old machine for hours and hours and hours on end.
And is that how he scripted it?
And that was how he scripted it. He just watched the pictures and made things up. Which, if you think about it, screenplay writing is the same thing, only the other way around.
I just like the idea of a magic roundabout, like a traffic circle where, like, you go around it and, like, your car transforms into, like, a Voltron cap or something like that.
Oh, honey, that's what they used to call me on the corner, the Magic Roundabout.
Oh my god, you dumb. Joe, I wish you could see like the smug smile on Gavin's face right now as he said, "Oh, honey, this roundabout's been magic in French and English." The family lived in West Hampstead in North London, where she went to school at the Camden School for Girls. She spent a lot of her time in Scotland. I think to this day, she still has a very strong, like, Scottish pride within her. She was intrigued by language and literature, which she attributes to her father, who clearly, obviously, shared a love for words.
I mean, I think by the time I was 16, I discovered that one of the only ways to stop people from punching you or pulling your plait or telling you were fat and had a posh accent was by, being mucking around and being funny. And also by that time I discovered Monty Python, you see. And they got me through school. I used to sit under the stairs and just perform those sketches.
She took her A-levels in English, French, and Latin. So, overachiever much? And she got an English degree at Cambridge in 1977. She, always knew that she wanted to become an actress. She thought, yeah, it's gonna happen. And at Cambridge, she was, I think, the first woman ever that was accepted into the, what are they called? The
Footlights.
The Footlights.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Which is like a super famous hoity-toity...
Like an improv group,
yeah.
but one that people like.
Right. Right. It's like when your friends invite you to their show and you're like, oh my god, I'll see if I can make it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm out of town that night.
Right.
Just that night,
right.
Though.
During this time, though, in college, she said she was surrounded by creative people, and I don't think it would ever have gone any other way, really, talking about her becoming an actress. She explains in an interview how she discovered the book The Mad Woman in the Attic, which is about Victorian female writers and the disguises they took on in order to express what they wanted to express. That completely changed my life. And I've read a lot about how she became like this true punk kid with like shaved hair.
Yeah,
and she
dyed it shock red.
Yeah, and we're just like, and she, a true queen standing another queen. She said she wanted to be like Lily Tomlin. Hello? Put a pin in...
Oh, that's adorable.
I know. Put a pin in that, because when is that episode coming?
Yeah, right?
So the Footlights is the Cambridge's most prestigious sketch group.
And she's there with Stephen Fry. She's there with Hugh Laurie.
Yes.
Who she dated for a little bit.
Which I see and I ship.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, what a handsome couple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She had her nickname Emma Talented. Imagine.
That's funny.
It's funny, and it's also for like a comedy.
Very uninspired.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
In 1980, she was even their vice president, and she co-directed the troupe's first all-female revue, Woman's Hour. It's really here at the Footlights where she's laying the groundwork for her entire career, because like you mentioned, Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry, a lot of her early work is involved with them also. Even after they graduated.
There's so many TV specials, sketch comedy.
Mr. Hobhouse, I cannot believe my ears.
They do rather stick out, don't they? It's her nose that baffles me.
This is like the peak of their powers. Like, I mean, they're young, they're like doing weird shit. If you go on YouTube and just like type in alfresco Emma Thompson, it is full on Kate McKinnon, level sketch comedy.
It's so funny because like this particular sketch group, there's a lot of lore about it because Emma Thompson obviously, but also like Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry went on to do their own very popular sort of like sketch show on TV, and then like everybody sort of went on from this to become famous. And it really makes me want to see them all like collaborate on a project now. You know what I mean?
Love that so
like
much.
Make a movie together or something. Because like I love Stephen Fry. I think Stephen Fry is like one of the most interesting people.
Oh, me too.
And I don't know. I just feel like it would be very interesting to see like what they would all sort of
a remake
get up
of
to
Peter's
nowadays.
Friends, perhaps.
Yeah,
I can just imagine that amount of brain power.
Yeah,
and just like the confidence they all have in the things that they did and ended up doing. In 1985, Emma was cast in a West End revival of the musical Me and My Girl. And it was the breakthrough in her career. The production had rave reviews. She said she played the role for 15 months and then she was exhausted and remarked, "I thought if I did the fucking Lambeth walk one more time, I was going to fucking throw up." So she left the show, on her own terms. And the following year was when she wrote and starred in her one-off special for Channel 4, Up for Grabs. In 1987, she had another breakthrough, and that's when she had 2 television miniseries debut, Fortunes of War, co-starring her later husband, Kenneth Branagh.
Good old K. Bran, as the kids call him.
As the kids would call him.
It was very popular amongst them.
And Tutti Frutti, which was a dark comedy about a Scottish rock band. Oh, and this is when she writes her own sketch comedy series for the BBC called Thompson, and it was a flop. Which is very bizarre. I wish I knew like more dramaturgy about this one woman show that she tried to really get off the ground, but for whatever reason fell flat on its face. Ken and Em, as they were called, Kenneth and Emma, they kind of became like this power it couple in the UK, but also like we mentioned with the tabloids and the press, they were also very looked upon as like, oh, these beautiful, talented assholes think they're too good for us, and all their work is very like high-minded, and I mean, but that's like, maybe that's just because we're dumb Americans and we're like, it's so fucking fun when a British person like makes fun of us. Like, we love it.
We're like, she's part of the upper class. We like it.
Emma's first cinematic appearance came in the romantic comedy The Tall Guy in 1989.
I saw this.
Yes, how did you feel about that?
It's not great,
okay.
Bob. But it's her and Jeff Goldblum who are very funny together, and it's actually I suddenly can't think of his name, but the guy that wrote and directed Love Actually,
Richard Curtis.
Richard Curtis. It was his first script. And it's very clear that he thought it was very smart.
Oh, okay.
And that's the big issue with the film.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Something we definitely don't see later again in Love Actually,
Yeah,
but fine.
Absolutely not. But she plays a nurse and he's a comedian, and that's pretty much all you need to know about it.
All these weeks I've been coming here, I've been wanting to ask you something. What I really want to know is, what's your name?
Kate. Lemon. Sorry, name.
No, not at all. It could have been worse. It could have been called Hitler or Tampon or something.
Later that year, she also played Princess Catherine in Kenneth Branagh's screen adaptation of Henry V. I remember seeing that in college and thinking that movie fucking slapped. So
it does have.
I've still never seen it.
Really?
It got deprioritized.
Yeah.
I had to make a calculation of how big her role in it was.
So she does Henry V, but in the 90s is when she really is like getting attention in the States. American writer and critic James Monaco says that Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh led the British cinematic onslaught in the 90s. We were talking about this earlier. Emma Thompson was in Impromptu with Judi Davis and Hugh Grant.
Yes.
In 91.
She's great in it. She's very, like, she plays a upper class woman who throws a party and chaos ensues at her party, and she's like flighty and gossipy, and it's just sort of the you rarely get to see, because in America she does have this reputation of being kind of hoity-toity, that even when she's being funny in America, it still feels like it's coming from an intellectual place.
Yeah.
And I feel like Impromptu was the only time I've ever seen her be like real just flighty on camera.
Yeah, it feels like the clip that you showed me. It feels like a Mean Girl, but from back in the day.
You'll be getting up before dawn for the duel, so I shall sleep in my own bed tonight.
Oh, I do wish I could be there tomorrow. You will make sure nobody's killed, won't you? I abhor killing, but a good fight's something to see.
She got a Best Supporting Female nomination at the Independent Spirit Awards for that movie.
Well, directed by James Lapine, too. I didn't realize.
Yes, and it was his first film, and it's weird because you can tell he's a theater director, but he definitely, he had a Ken Loachness about him that I think if he'd gotten a chance to spend more time as a director, it would have been more interesting, but he has theater to do, man, so...
I'm very busy.
Yeah.
Later that year, she is again in a movie with her... I don't know if they're married by this point. They are a couple with Kenneth, and this might be her first American accent in Dead Again.
Yes.
In 1991. I read in this article that they're Americans thought it was brilliant Hancock stuff. In Britain, we thought it was a farce. And I was like, huh.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, Brit's gotta get over it, man, with Emma Thompson.
First of all, get over it.
Yeah.
In 1992, though, is when things get really serious for Emma Thompson. She was cast in Howard's End with Anthony Hopkins and Vanessa Redgrave. And Howard's End was this big period drama directed by Merchant Ivory, based on the novel by Ian Forster. When you think of Emma Thompson, you think of these period pieces where she is just giving the full, wearing the dresses, giving the speeches and monologues, and being that bitch.
Yeah.
And yeah, she wins her first Oscar, is it lead or supporting?
It's lead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very casual.
I had told Louis right before this that and planning for this, I was like, I'm going to rewatch Howard's End because it's been forever since I saw it. And I got 15 minutes in and I was like, I have fully never seen this film.
Yeah.
I thought The Remains of the Day was Howard's End.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, and I've thought that for about 15 years.
Listeners, I gotta tell you, those two movies are very similar. At least in aesthetic. I mean,
they're Merchant Ivory films, so
They're both Merchant Ivory, and they were within a year of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And Anthony Hopkins is also in The Remains of the Day. So yeah, I mean, in Howard's End, she plays, this... What's the thing that sets off the whole thing?
She's new money, essentially. She comes from a family of new money.
Right.
And who is
her and her sister.
Her and her sister. Played by
Helena Bonham Carter.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Helena Bonham Drama.
We'll get to that.
She knows what she did.
Very much so.
Yeah. You mean Helena Bonham Becky with the good hair?
Yeah, very that.
But
the movie, I mean, it's a big hit. It receives 9 Academy Award nominations. And among its 3 wins was the one that she won. She also got the Golden Globe and BAFTA.
She won everything that year. She swept all the critics awards. She was everything that year.
Schlegel. Margaret. I don't think you quite understand.
Oh, yes. Indeed, yes.
I'm asking you to be my wife.
Yes, I know. I know.
Are you offended?
How could I be?
Well, perhaps I should have written first.
No, rather you will receive a letter from me.
Thank you.
Not at all. And it's you I thank.
And it's funny because all the reviews coming out of that movie were just oh, Emma Thompson can do shit without Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
And she is a force.
Yeah.
And reality was out to prove that,
I know,
too.
yes. They were oh, you want an Oscar on this movie with Helena Bonham Carter? Who's getting it on with your... I think they must have been married by then. They must have been married.
Yeah, they were definitely married by then. They were married by the time they did Dead Again. So.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay, true. Great. So, and then her next 2 films, she returns to working with Kenneth. She does the aforementioned Peter's Friends with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. This movie is basically Footlights, the movie.
Yeah.
It's friends coming back together. I had never seen this movie, and I was so excited to watch it, and I really enjoyed it. But towards the end, spoiler alert, I was like, oh my god, this movie is definitely about him having AIDS.
Yep.
And
it's the easiest secret to suss out as you're watching the movie. You're just I know what year this was made in.
Right. It's
I know what's
as
about
soon
to
as
happen.
you realize, oh, it's the early 90s, and he has a secret. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
She followed that with Much Ado About Nothing, which I've talked about, I don't know, 1,000 times on this show.
Between Michael Keaton, Keanu Reeves, and Emma Thompson, we're just eventually going to hit everybody.
Yeah, we're going to hit everybody.
That cast is really something else,
really
though. It's
is.
a really good... I feel like every time there's a movie version of Much Ado About Nothing, it's like, oh, let's just cast a billion awesome people.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of good roles.
Yeah,
it's good.
And that's the thing. Like, every role is so good and fun. Like, even if you're like the villain, or like Michael Keaton's role is fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Michael Keaton reprising his role of Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Much Ado About Nothing.
Every time I watch that movie, and it has been many times, I forget that Michael Keaton comes along, and then he like gives you the most bonkers performance. I was like, ugh, I love that movie so much.
Keanu gets to struggle with accents.
Yes.
It's everything we like to see.
But Keanu gets like a nice deep V, like open tunic.
Yes,
love.
true.
So the movie is widely praised.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedict. Nobody marks you.
What, my dear Lady Disdain? Are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die while she hath such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedict? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat. But it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted, and I would I could find in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly I love none.
A dear happiness to women. They would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God and my cold blood I am of your humour for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me.
She returned to teaming up with Merchant Ivory and Anthony Hopkins to film The Reigns of the Day. This is still 1993, guys. She was a busy girl. Also have to mention that she, I want to say, did she do the screenplay for Much Ado About Nothing? I feel like she did.
Yeah, she co-wrote it with Brenna, I believe.
So just like painting a full picture, like she is not only busy killing it in front of the screen, she is currently also writing these movies as well. The Reigns of the Day, which again is another kind of period piece, but I think like a very interesting period time though, because the movie deals a lot with like things are changing, you know, after the war, and people are like, fuck being a gentleman, fuck high society, like we don't care. I will
also Nazis are coming. Like there's a lot of that too.
Also, it's like, oh, so what's it like working for a Nazi sympathizer? I think I like this movie better than Howard's End, honestly.
I think it's interesting to compare the two with this and Howard's End, because it's Thompson and Hopkins, but their relationship in both of them is very different. And I think the difference in Howard's End being an E.M. Forster novel and then Remains of the Day being a Ishiguro novel, and like the difference in the time periods in which they were written,
right,
is it's Remains of the Day is deceptively old-fashioned looking. It's really not. There's a modern sensibility to it that I think really makes it snap, and it came out in the same year as Schindler's List, so nothing else was going to win the Oscar but Schindler's List, which is kind of, I almost wish Schindler's List had come out a year later, and because then it could have beaten Forrest Gump, but also I feel like 1993 had some really interesting movies in that Best Picture race, but it was Reigns of the Day and The Piano and The Fugitive, and all of those movies might have gotten a little bit more of consideration and, you know, gotten some time in the spotlight if they hadn't all been sort of like ready to get steamrolled by Spielberg.
Emma Thompson has said that this movie is one of the greatest experiences of her career, and she considers it to be a masterpiece of withheld emotion.
I accepted his proposal. I accepted Mr. Benn's proposal of marriage.
My congratulations.
I am prepared to serve out my notice, but if you were able to release me earlier, I would be grateful. Mr. Benn is planning to leave for the West Country in 2 weeks' time.
I'll do my best. Now, please excuse me.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes, Stinson.
Am I to take it that after all the years I have been in this house, you have nothing else to say to me?
You have my warmest congratulations.
It was a big success critically and commercially, and like Joe mentioned, it got 8 Oscar nominations, including for Best Picture and for Thompson.
She also gets an Oscar nomination that very same year for another movie, In the Name of the Father, the Daniel Day-Lewis film, for supporting. And fun fact, she loses both of them Does everybody know what she loses them to?
No.
Both to the piano,
Both.
the women from the piano.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anna Paquin stealing it right out on her.
The teen Anna Paquin?
Like preteen.
Oh, like preteen. She was like 11 years old.
Yeah.
She was really young. Yeah.
Yeah, supporting. Just
Wow.
like Rogue, touching her, stealing her powers.
Yeah.
That was funny
She
because
knew.
also Holly Hunter. So Holly Hunter won Best Actress for the piano that year, but she was also nominated twice. She was in supporting as well for The Firm.
Ew.
So it was like a really kind of a wild year where like both Holly Hunter and Thompson are nominated twice. Thompson had just won the year before, so nobody expected her to win in either one of them, and it was wild.
That year when they showed the rest of the nominees in the audience, it was exactly like that scene at the end of Wayne's World 2, where you just watch each of them mouth, son of a bitch, at Anna Paquin.
I like, Joe, you were like, 93, really wild year, man. Like,
it was.
things were
it
like
was.
really crazy in 93, so. In 1984, Emma makes her Hollywood debut, and in our favorite movie, Junior, starring alongside Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was a flop.
Wonder why.
People didn't want to see a pregnant Arnold? Can't believe.
Pregnant Arnold, giving you the word, I hate movies like this where the joke is wouldn't it be funny if a man acted like a woman and not like a woman,
Yeah.
but stereotypes of women.
Yeah, he's like, I want to be cuddled.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. Why are you leaving me all alone?
This commercial is making me cry.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
I will say, I don't know whether I'm a total sucker or whether the fraught political times that we currently live in have broken me. But the moment where he's running away from the people trying
Yes.
to shut down the experiment, and he goes, "My body, my choice," and I'm like, "You're fucking A right, man." I was so
In
because
1994,
that's the one
Arnold
moment that at the
Schwarzenegger
very
knew.
least, the movie shows its cards in a way that I'm just like, yes, your heart is in the right place, and I like it.
So,
But total flop, 3 Golden Globe nominations,
Yeah.
and 1 Oscar nomination for the song, which is a stupid bad song.
The year after that, Thompson is on a roll still. She does Sense and Sensibility, which maybe is her most her pinnacle achievement that I think most people would talk about. You know, she was approached to do this adaptation of Jane Austen's novel. And
what I love about the approach too was that they approached her because of her comedic work.
Yeah. And she hits it out of the park.
Yeah.
She not only she's in it, but she doesn't take the main role. She who's this woman? Kate
Winslet?
Kate Winslet, thank
Did
you.
you not remember Kate Winslet's
I
name?
kept wanting to say Kate Blanchett. And I was like, I know it's not her.
Louis.
Kate Winslet plays the
You
main.
are straight for the next month.
Don't make me. What if I was like, fuck yeah? The main love interest in this movie, though, is played by Kate Winslet. Also, speaking of which, Emma Thompson meets her future current husband,
Yes.
Greg Wise, in this movie. He plays an asshole in this movie.
He does. Can we talk about her personal life just real quick then?
Yes.
So essentially what happens, and we hinted about it before, but Helena Bonham Carter goes off after they do Howard's End together, and she does Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with him.
Of all awful ass movies to be so important.
Exactly.
In all these careers.
And she essentially, it's never been fully proven, but they were a couple afterwards.
Right.
But she ruins Emma
marriage.
Thompson, Kenneth Branagh's marriage.
You don't want to say homewrecker, I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
But Joe will.
But I mean, she then later does a Tim Burton movie. Well,
I was going to say, I love Helena Bonham Carter, but this is kind of a pattern with her.
She's Mr. Steal Your Man.
Yeah, she's very Mr. Studio Girl.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that you mentioned earlier, that a lot of Britain at the time sort of knew her as solely with Kenneth Branagh, And I can't imagine that time period that she was, like, they referred to her as lovey in the press and everything. And they really thought she was going to falter without him.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Sense and Sensibility is such a hit. I mean, she'd already won her Academy Award.
Right.
But then she gets another for Sense and Sensibility for writing.
Yeah.
She's the only person in the history of the Academy that has an Academy Award for acting and for writing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's crazy because she's adapting a very famous story that's already been done before. You know, there are numerous productions of Sense and Sensibility, both on screen and stage. And not only did Emma Thompson adapt it, she added things. They like pumped up some of the drama and the romance. And the movie is cast with other like legendary, like Alan Rickman. Is this the first time she works with Alan Rickman?
I think yes.
Because
don't quote me on that.
Don't fact check us on that. But this is the first time that I saw her with him, and they have a long career.
It is.
It is.
Okay. They made a TV movie at some point, but I think this is the first.
R.I.P. Alan.
I know, God. And so he's in this movie. Like we said, Kate Winslet's in this movie. Greg Wise, who she meets there, and they eventually get married and have kids, and they're still together.
He's 9 years her junior, I think. Yeah,
he's younger. And he is foxy AF.
Oh, yeah, they look good together. Yeah. They're a handsome couple.
I will also say about Sense and Sensibility is if you get a second, go and watch her Golden Globes acceptance speech.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was literally not bringing this up because I wanted you to bring it up.
Oh, okay. She delivers the speech. She sort of, makes her like initial sort of thank yous, but then she pulls out a piece of paper and it's, she went to Jane Austen's gravesite or whatever, and she spoke to Jane, and Jane wanted me to convey this message to you. And so then she like delivers the rest of this acceptance speech as Jane Austen.
Yep. Mr. Ang Lee, of foreign extraction, who most unexpectedly appeared to understand me better than I understand myself. Mr. James Seamus, a most copiously erudite person, and Miss Kate Winslet, beautiful in both countenance and spirit. Mr. Pat Doyle, a composer and a Scot who displayed the kind of wild behaviour one has learned to expect from that race. Mr. Mark Kenton, an energetic person with a ready smile who, as I understand it, owes me a great deal of money. True. Miss Lisa Henson of Columbia, a lovely girl, and Mr. Gareth Wigan, a lovely boy. P.S. managed to avoid the Whedon, Emily Tompkinson, who has purloined my creation and added things of her own. Nefarious creature. Thank you.
It's such a flex, too, because it's just you're already giving me this award for adapting the words of Jane Austen, and then I'm going to accept it by, just casually writing another whole, in the voice of Jane Austen story. It's amazing. It's so good.
She didn't win the Oscar for acting. She won it for writing, but she did win her second BAFTA award for acting, and the Golden Globe for Best Screenplay.
And she's like, take that, you fucking lovies.
She returned to America to appear in an episode of Ellen, where she won a primetime.
Can I talk about this episode of Ellen? I fucking love this episode of Ellen.
I've never seen it.
It's so good. Okay, so this was the season after Ellen came out, right? And that show only lasted one more season after she came out because America got really weird about it. Mm-hmm. But so a lot of that season, by her coming out, because the come out episode, if you remember, Laura Dern's in it, Oprah's in it. It's very much the celebrities sort of arrived to support Ellen at this point, which she has, carried throughout her career. She's very sort of surrounded by celebs always. So this episode, Ellen, I think, works for a talk show. She's something, right? Or whatever. She works for this talk show, and Emma Thompson plays herself, who's going to show up in this talk show, and you think the crux of the episode is she tells Ellen, I want to come out on this episode of television. This is going to be, so it was this whole sort of meta thing where they were doing a lot of commentary about what it was like for Ellen to come out and whatever. And then about 2/3 of the way into the episode, the turn is Emma admits that she's got another even more horrible secret, which is that she's not English at all. She's from Dayton, Ohio.
So, no regrets. You have got to be kidding. I have
never been happier. It's like I'm living a whole new life.
All right, Thompson. Come on, let's go. Back to work.
You want to cut me some slack here? I'm on a break.
Oh, yeah? You'll be on a boat back to France if you don't shake a leg.
Okay.
Well, she wins another Emmy Award for this.
Can I talk real quick about one other TV appearance that actually occurs slightly before this?
Please.
She famously plays Fraser Crane's first wife on Cheers.
She's so good.
Yeah, she plays Nanette Guzman.
Guzman?
And she really wants to fuck him. And then later...
but she's like a children's TV show host.
Yes,
so she's
absolutely.
like this like sweet as pie thing, but also she's super horny for Frasier.
Yes.
And Lilith is so incredibly jealous of her. It's great.
Yeah,
it's such a good episode.
And I will die for any BB Newirth Emma Thompson crossover.
Yeah.
Well, my, oh my. Well, I was going to start by singing the Doodlebug song. Thank you. But instead, I want to begin by singing a very special song for a very wonderful boy. And the moon...
Why is she looking directly at you?
She isn't looking at me. She's looking in the general direction of our loving family.
I think she's singing the song to you, Fraser.
Oh, you're being paranoid. She's singing a lovely song to a 2-year-old child.
The first time ever I lay with you.
All right, that's it. Stop the music.
But what's funny is Nanette Guzman appears only twice more on the TV show Frasier, once in a flashback played by somebody else I can't remember. But then...
Laurie Metcalf. It's Laurie Metcalf.
I was going to say, and then Laurie Metcalf plays her the third time later. And it's so good to imagine one character that got to be both Emma Thompson and Laurie Metcalf.
Yeah.
Queens,
it's great.
Standing Queens. For her second Hollywood role, she is with John Travolta in Mike Nichols' Primary Colors.
Yes.
This is in 1998. They're basically playing Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. It was based on a tell-all book. I remember when this happened. It was written by Anonymous.
It's a sensation.
This book
was
Anonymous,
sensation at the time.
And it's all about the early Clinton campaign. And I didn't rewatch this because I'm still in election fatigue from the last one.
I didn't rewatch it because I've seen it approximately 200 times. I see it every single time it's on television, which is quite often. I love it.
She's amazing.
I had never seen it, but I did for this. And I gotta say, I was not a fan.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, in loving it, I accept a lot of flaws. But Emma specifically, her version of Hillary is not very... She's not doing an impression, which Travolta is doing an impression.
Literally doing his best little Arkansas, sleazeball moment.
But Emma is so good at making this a character and making this, sort of woman who has had to become calculating because of her sort of role in this man's life, right? And this thing that they want to do and this thing they want to build. But there's a scene in the middle of the movie where they're at some sort of barbecue in Arkansas or whatever, and she's sort of just it's the part where everybody's sort of letting their hair down and they're all dancing. And she dances the mommest dance you have ever seen in your entire life. It makes me laugh so much. It's so good.
If you want to draw a political lesson from that about Jack Stanton's character, here it is. He will stick. He will work through the tough times. He will wake up every morning and bust his butt for the American people.
Bust his butt? The mouth on her.
Nobody's perfect.
You should just take her in hand.
The movie is critically well received, but it's kind of a flop. Does not make a lot of money. But after her, Americans were blown away by her accent work and her performance. And so she got a lot of Hollywood offers, and she rejected a lot of them. Yeah. Most of them. She was
she goes on kind of a break from after that point.
Yeah, she just is not interested in living in LA. She's, she is through and through a London girl. She follows that up with Judas Kiss in 1998, also with Alan Rickman.
Yeah, which is a flop.
She became a mother in 1999. Her and Greg have their first, their daughter, Gaia is her name. And so she makes a conscious decision to reduce her workload. And so a lot of her appearances after that are really small supporting things. In 2001, though, she takes on a huge part in the HBO television film Wit, which is just a devastation of a movie.
Yeah, it's and she like brings Mike Nichols onto the project. They rewrite the script, but not. I don't want to like they don't change a lot of the dialogue. They just restructure the way it's presented to make it more filmic and less theatrical.
Right. So Wit is a Pulitzer Prize winning play by Margaret Edson. And it is about, a doctor who gets cancer. And it's this journey.
Well, she's a professor. She's
professor.
Right. She's studies metaphysical poetry. Like it's a very complex.
Well, like there's like that great line where they're like, "Doctor," and she's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
PhD. And it really isn't until Love Actually where she shows up again.
What's that?
Very small film, most notable for its Kelly Clarkson power ballad. But so she's in Richard Curtis's Love Actually. Richard Curtis, who we talked about when she was in her first movie, The Tall Guy. She plays a wife, mother, sister to Hugh Grant, who is the Prime Minister.
Correct.
Alan Rickman is her cheating husband.
Oh, that philanderer.
Yes. I know.
She's like, I don't know what this is like at all. How are you, Ken?
Joe, where do you land on the Love Actually debate?
I'm very, 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 very pro Love Actually.
Excellent,
I really adore that movie, and she's my favorite part of it. She is the standout. Chris and I have been doing a mini series of 2003 movies from
yes, of course.
On This Had Oscar Buzz, and we didn't do Love Actually because we feel like that can be its own sort of thing.
Yeah.
But we talked about who would have been on our ballots if we had been making lists back then.
Absolutely, her.
She's on both of our supporting actor ballots. She's so incredibly wonderful. She has that very, very famous scene where she discovers that this piece of jewelry that she sort of spied him buying at the mall, and she's expecting to get it as a gift, and then he gives her this Joni Mitchell CD instead, and so she knows now that he's bought this gift for some other woman, and she retreats into the bedroom and has like this very brief and controlled breakdown where she knows she only has a moment because then they have to go and take the kids to this pageant, and it's devastating to know how much she is holding back, but like even just like watching what does escape onto her face, it's such good acting. It's one of those things where it's just like you can tell I'm sure that like you can tell it's just like, well, time to act,
right?
But also like it's done so well. It's basically the movie being like, now watch some fucking acting.
Yeah,
but it's done so
supreme.
well, and it fits so well into the story.
And then they play the Joni Mitchell behind her doing
this
it.
Cover of Both Sides Now, which is very sort of like sad and smoky, and it's so wonderful. Yes,
she said in 2013 that she gets commended for this role specifically more than any other.
I believe it.
And she says, I've had so much bloody practice at crying in a bedroom than having to go out and be cheerful, gathering up the pieces of my heart and putting them in a drawer. I am pro Love Actually as well. I watch it every Christmas time.
My parents love it. It's like one of my parents, like our sort of Christmas canon at home.
Yes, very that.
It's Home Alone, Love Actually, and The Family Stone. Like those are the ones.
Excellent. That's like a trinity of Christmas bangers.
Yeah.
Gavin, where do you land on the Love Actually?
What happens after Love Actually?
No, in any conversation about Love Actually, there has to be at least
there must be one.
Because
there must be one.
That's me
so
in the corner.
You are only fulfilling the universal duty for it. So,
my name is Gavin. Later in 2003, she's also in Imagining Argentina, where she's a supporting role with Antonio Banderas. I did not watch this. Anyone?
This was directed by Christopher. I didn't watch it either, but it's directed by Christopher Hampton, the playwright,
the famous playwright and mediocre director.
This movie was booed and jeered at when it screened at the Venice Film Festival. She returns to HBO for the miniseries Angels in America in 2003.
She plays the titular role.
The titular angel.
The titular role, indeed. Yeah. It's so funny because I think of like wit is such a like powerful thing on its own, and then in many ways I sometimes think of it, that was the Mike Nichols, Emma Thompson movie before Angels in America. Angels in America is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's it's my number one sort of like work of any kind of fiction ever. It's so good. And the movie version is such a good adaptation of it.
Yes, that's exactly what I was just going to say. It's a beautiful adaptation of something that I think in a lesser hand would have been a disaster. What's that?
Did Mike Nichols also do this?
Yes, yeah.
Yep. Mike Nichols, and it's like, and it draws upon all of like his great relationships with actresses, where it's Emma, it's Meryl Streep, it's Mary Louise Parker. I watch it all the time. It's this like 6-hour like sprawling thing, and I watch it so often for a 6-hour thing. It's just like,
are you okay, Joe?
I get very moved by it.
It's very good though.
Yeah,
so
the great work continues, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So in 2004, she joins every other British actor ever to play a character in the Harry Potter films.
Yes.
She is Sybil Trelawney, famously a mediocre psychic woman. Clairvoyant, that's the word we're looking for.
She only plays that character in 3 of the 97 films. Is it?
Something like that,
Yeah.
Though I will say...
And in one of them, the last one, she's basically just like in this big sort of giant scene.
Right, exactly.
All kind of gathered.
Hello!
yeah, basically.
Whatever the movie is where she like gets fired by that bitch in pink. That's
5?
Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
A heartbreaking of a scene where she's like, "This is my home."
16 years I've lived and taught here. Hogwarts is my home. You can't do this. Actually, I can.
Her Peter's Friends co-star Imelda Staunton.
Yes.
Turning her out in the cold like that.
I know.
She's like, let's see you play Vera Drake.
Hello. She says she's called her time on the franchise, quote, great fun.
Did she say that, or did her agent say that in a typed up memo?
I was like, is that a read? Or
I'm sure those movies for all of those people is fun to do, because you show up for your like 2 days.
Yeah.
You see all your old friends from like, other like West End productions or whatever. Like she and Maggie can say hi, and she and, whatever, and then you go home.
And
it's gotta be
obviously, we've talked great friends with Alan Rickman too, and so,
yes, of course.
And
she and Branagh were in different Harry Potter movies.
I was just going to say, what's really funny is that like both Branagh and Helena Bonham Carter just like hanging out the edges of the.
Well, and Helena and Emma have both, I think, talked in the press about how they sort of have long since patched up their whole thing. And
good for them.
Which I think is fun. I like the idea of them being on friendly terms with each other, but not either one of them being on friendly terms with Kenneth, which I don't know if that's the truth, but that's my truth, and I will live in it as long as I can.
That's the path that we take.
Yeah.
In 2005, a project that Emma Thompson had been working on for 9 years finally gets released, and that is Nanny McPhee, where she plays the titular nanny.
Yes, indeed.
And I had never seen... There are 2 of these movies.
Yes.
I'd never seen any. I saw the first one. They're charming and good for a kid's movie, like very Matilda-esque.
So these come out around the time... I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the show before. I have a 20-year-old niece, so she was born when I was 14. And... these came out at like the perfect time for her. So I've actually seen both multiple times, and I do really like them. And it made me happy that Emma Thompson sort of had her own Mary Poppins, and actually like kind of like, I know it's not based off Mary Poppins. I know it's a different thing, but it kind of a closer to the Mary Poppins of the books, minus the racism, because the books are a little racist.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. But like much closer to that character than the Disney movie, because Mary's kind of a big old biatch in the books.
Mary's a little mean.
Yeah. The movie's a huge hit. Spawning its sequel. The following year, she appears in the comedy drama Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell. We can skip ahead a little bit. In 2008, she does Last Chance Harvey, also with Dustin Hoffman. which I think is a cute like movie for the AARP crowd. Shout out to the AARP Awards, Joe.
It won for Best Grown-Up Love Story.
There you go.
Which is exactly right. It should have.
Feels right.
I was going to say, if there's something needs to win, it's Last Chance Harvey.
Yeah.
She's supporting a role in an education, The Boat That Rocked.
Can I just back up like half a second to Brideshead Revisited really quickly?
Yes, sure.
Because she's really good in that, but also that cast is great in
Yes.
a way that, like, it might have been the first thing I ever saw Ben Whishaw in.
Oh.
It was one of the first things I ever saw Matthew Good in. It was the first thing I saw Haley Atwell in. So, like, if anybody hasn't seen that adaptation of Brideshead Revisited, it didn't get, like, a ton of attention, but, like, it's worth watching. It's really good.
And she's really good. She's actually my favorite part in it. But it's a hard novel to adapt.
A critic said that Emma Thompson is to some extent becoming the new Judi Dench as the person who kind of comes in for 15 minutes and is brilliant, but when she goes away, the rest of the movie has a real problem living up to the wattage of her presence.
An Education feels that way for me sometimes. Where like I keep wanting them to return to her character because she's the one who like tells hard truths to Carey Mulligan's character, and I'm like, yeah, more of that,
please. Someone tell Carey. God. Me and Gavin briefly talked about the Song of Lunch before we started, which is like a poem that they made into this kind of movie episode thing on BBC TV. There are no two greater voices than just because a lot of the movie is in narration between a lot of it is Alan Rickman. He's reciting the poem.
Focal point.
He's reciting the poem. But like I could just listen to both of them talk.
Yeah, there's something absolutely beautiful and heartbreaking about this. And once again, it's a film adaptation of a poem.
Yeah.
But it's I love it. It's like 50 minutes, if that. And it's
she
really
got
worth
her
watching.
4th Emmy nomination for that.
Yeah.
How long has it been? 10 years? 11?
15.
No, it can't be that. Let's settle for 12. And we've only got lunch in which to tell each other everything, so... Truce?
For a moment, he withholds, mouth full of pause.
In 2012, she made a choice and was in Men in Black 3. I hear that
got that paycheck, I'm sure.
Got that paycheck. She will be in the new one coming out.
This is the summer of Thompson, but we'll get to that.
She was a voice in Brave. The Scottish
divisive movie. It's like the most divisive Pixar movie I find.
If you could change your fate, would you? Yeah, we all wanted better for Brave, but it's canon.
Yeah. Hashtag better for Brave.
Thank you. In 2013, she is briefly in Beautiful Creatures, which
she is.
We talked about for our vampire episode?
Our witch episode.
Our witch episode.
Yeah, she is chewing every bit of scenery in that movie, and she is loving it.
I was going to say, she's the only one having so much fun in that movie. And, we also did talk about it
I think everybody's having I love that movie. I fucking love that movie. It's
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis is also in this movie.
Yeah.
I agree
Margot
with Joe. I feel like
Martindale's
everyone
in that movie.
Oh, I forgot about Margot.
Atkins.
You're right.
Wait,
yeah.
who's
Margot Martindale is wearing a full-ass peacock on her head in that movie.
There you go. Joe, Beautiful Creature stan.
That's write it on my tomb.
Yeah. The next movie that she comes out is another huge, big career moment for her. She plays P.L. Travers in Saving Mr. Banks, which is the big Disney tentpole, kind of like navel-gazy, like...
we'll do that on This Had Oscar Buzz at some point, because...
you better.
Yeah,
I feel like that's ripe for it.
That was one that... so famously, Meryl Streep snatched this spot for an Academy Award nomination from Emma Thompson, and there's a great funny story of how Meryl called her or wrote her a note saying I'm so sorry, blah blah blah, and Emma just was like, good. So she plays P.L. Travers,
funny.
who wrote the Mary Poppins books, and the whole movie is just about her trying to Walt Disney trying to get her to sign over the rights, and she's famously kind of a psychotic.
She is, as you mentioned. She's said that this was one of the hardest roles in her life because she's never played somebody so inconsistent.
Yeah. I mean, she clearly had, all this emotional baggage from her life and growing up, and how much she loved the character that she had written. And Tom Hanks plays Walt Disney, which is there better casting? I don't know. She said that this was She was so delighted to get this script. Critics are saying this is the best she's been in years. You know, like Emma Thompson's back. She's wasted at the Golden Globes. She's throwing shoes. It's amazing.
Oh, everybody loved her. I was like, she's absolutely getting nominated for an Oscar. I don't understand. Like,
was it Dan who told us that this was the first time an actress got a nomination for literally everything and then was shut out of an Oscar nomination?
I think, yeah.
Because she got nominated for a BAFTA, a SAG, and a Golden Globe. You know, the National Board of Review. And even Meryl Streep said that she was shocked because Meryl Streep got nominated for, I think it was August Osage County?
That was August Osage County, yeah. Which I actually think she's really good in, but I would have nominated Emma as well, just because she doesn't get as many cracks at that apple. So.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I guess, go off, Meryl.
She does. She often does.
And she often does. In the same year, 2013, she comes out with The Love Punch, where she's with Pierce Brosnan. They play a divorced couple who reunite to steal jewelry.
Yeah, that movie's tone is off.
That movie is trash. But thank the Lord, next year she makes her first stage appearance in 24 years and her New York debut in a Lincoln Center production of Sweeney Todd. And friends, the PBS Arts whatever thing is all on YouTube. Look it up. She's so funny. She's so good.
And she's having a great time doing it.
Excellent. And it's what the best part about this is if you see it, they all come on the stage and it's Lincoln Center. It's very stuffy and everyone looks very gorgeous and beautiful. Audra McDonald is there. And like it starts and they just start ripping off their clothes, breaking shit on stage. And they really set the scene like we're about to fuck some shit up.
So changed. Good God. What did they do to you down in bloody Australia or wherever?
Where is my wife? Where is Lucy?
She poisoned herself. Arsenic from the apothecary on the corner. I tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen to me.
And my daughter?
Joanna, he's got her.
Judge Turpin?
He adopted her like his own. You could say it was good luck for her, almost.
She got her 6th Emmy nomination for the televised version of the show. So there you go. In 2015, she's in A Walk in the Woods. We talked about briefly during our
Robert Redford, which I finally watched for this one. I should have watched for Robert Redford because she's such a minor role in it.
Yeah, she's not really in it a lot. Next, she stars in Robert Carlyle's directorial debut, The Legend of Barney Thompson. What's this face, Gavin?
This is not a good movie.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But highly recommend, even if you can find like a compilation of her clips online, because she plays she's like mom. She plays his mom. She's like in her 70s. She's wearing a lot of old age makeup.
Yep.
She's doing the most accent and she's good.
I like the movie.
Oh, really?
I hate the title, but like nothing called The Legend of anyone's boring fucking name makes me want to see her movie.
I never told you because I knew you couldn't handle the truth.
So what's the truth?
He moved to Hart Hill and opened a tobacconist's.
Hart Hill's only 5 fucking miles away!
See, I knew you'd be like this.
Well, why didn't he keep in touch?
Maybe he was just like everybody else. Maybe he couldn't be fucking bothered with you either.
She co-wrote the screenplay for Bridget Jones's Baby.
Right. You know what's funny is Richard Curtis wrote the other two.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Full circle? Yeah, kind of. She, in 2017, in like maybe one of her highest grossing, maybe the most highest grossing movie she's been in.
I would say, yeah. It'd be hard to do too many more higher grossing than that.
Yeah, is Beauty and the Beast, which is whatever.
It's a piece of crap of a movie, but
yes. Thank you, Joe.
She's wonderful.
I did not watch this, but she's allegedly in the Meyerowitz Stories.
I did watch it.
I love her in the Meyerowitz Stories.
She's so good in it too.
Okay,
and I'm not a Noah Baumbach fan, and I like anytime she was on screen, I thought that like the material was lifted. So
I love this movie just in general. So Emma's character is this very particular kind of a woman who she's their father's new wife.
Right.
But she's prickly, but also kind of like needy in a weird way. And then like when Dustin Hoffman as the father sort of falls ill, her relationship with the sons becomes adversarial, but she's not a villain either.
Right. We need to be able to talk to Dr. Sony.
Dr. Sony looks very much like a chum of mine at university who became an art looter, but
That's of no use to you. No. Absolutely none. I'll get the information and you can ask me. Email might be best if you're going to be in Rochester. I'm here. Danny's here.
If you have a family that has sort of like many sort of like tendrils and remarriages and whatever, like there's one of this woman in your family somewhere.
And she's also like a quiet drunk. Like you get
she's
the impression.
A quiet drunk is the other thing. Yes.
Yeah.
The part where she sort of like slowly rolls her car into a tree.
Yes.
Is really funny.
That kind of brings us to where we are now. You know, she, like we said, she's got a late night coming out. I just want to really briefly talk about her activism. She is very politically minded. People have even said that they would not be surprised if they see her kind of like in the role like of Glenda Jackson, who takes a seat in Parliament even. She is super liberal, supportive of the Labour Party.
Because clearly there's such an abyss between people.
Right.
Yeah. And that conversation, you know, whatever you call it, the north, south, the rich, poor, we're living in a country where rich people are getting richer and poor people are getting poorer. That's happening in my country too. What's that about?
So Emma Thompson, she has said, quote, "I'm an atheist. I regard religion with fear and suspicion. It's not enough to say that I don't believe in God. I actually regard the system as distressing. I'm offended by some of the things said in the Bible and the Quran, and I refute them." So she, I mean, and we talked about this earlier, you know, she is very outspoken. The press love to give her shit for being outspoken. She says, "What I feel is that we all need to speak up, and a woman who has got a louder voice needs to shout very loudly indeed." She's super involved with human rights work. She dragged fucking Harvey Weinstein to hell and back. She
very famously just left an animated film that Sony was releasing because they hired John Lasseter.
She said, "I think the fuck not."
Yeah, exactly. And she said that ever since she published the letter, because she very publicly published her reasons for quitting, that other women that have quit that Sony's animation division have come to her and told her thank you, you know, because they and she said, like, obviously it's not very brave of me to do it because
she's fine.
I'm famous. I get work.
Right.
But this is the livelihood of these women.
Right. And yeah, like we mentioned, she's super involved with also just like climate stuff. All around, just like a super trooper human being.
One last thing on her activism / personal life. She actually has another child.
Right.
In 2003, her and her husband adopted a Rwandan orphan and a former child soldier because it's fucked up. His name's Tinyebwa Agabe. And he was 16 at the time. They invited him to spend Christmas, and she's talked about like it was like a feeling, because she says other people have questioned why she felt she had to adopt him, why he couldn't just be a family friend.
I think that the family relationship occurred completely organically. That it was clear that that's what it was somehow. It was it was not a. I mean, we are very, very close friends, but we're also mother and son.
Yes,
and that's developed.
It developed,
hasn't it?
It didn't just happen in one.
No, it's not a decision that you just sort of make.
So it's gradually happened, and as we say, organically.
I love that she has this street cred of coming through, like, you know, the Footlights and doing all this great sketch and comedy work. She has like the big hits of like Oscar and like meaty roles by herself and doing the whole thing, writing and acting. And then she also has these like morals and standards that she is just like, I'm not going to fucking do this. Okay. Right. And she's not going to be silenced. And if she's charming us, job well done. I am charmed.
Right. Exactly.
What do you think we should do first? Our 5-star reviews or 1-star reviews?
I think we should get through our 1-star reviews just to get it over with.
Let's do it.
Joe, as our guest, would you like to say your 1-star review first?
Sure. So we kind of breezed past it in the rewind, and I was happy to because I knew I was going to have to talk about it. So I actually went and watched Judas Kiss, the 1998 crime thriller, which is like, if you've seen any of those mid-90s crime thrillers, which were like Romeo is Bleeding or like all those sort of like Mickey and Mallory knockoffs kind of. This is this very sort of like New Orleans tinged. It's Carla Gugino and Simon Baker play this sort of like wannabe Bonnie and Clyde pair of
America's
criminals.
favorite couple, Carla Gugino and Simon Baker.
And so their crew is like, it's those two. It's Gil Bellows, who, if you remember, Ally McBeal, the guy who played the guy who Ally McBeal was in love with on that show, and Till Schweiger, who shows up. I think he was in like Inglourious Bastards, right?
Yeah.
He sort of shows up in a bunch of things. So they're this like criminal crew, and this whole thing with like they kidnapped a man and then shot a woman, in the whole like in the process of it, and it has to. The woman that they shot was the wife of the governor or the senator, played by Hal Holbrook. And so anyway,
you mean Mr. Delta Burke?
I do in fact mean Mr. Delta Burke. So Emma and Alan Rickman. So Alan Rickman plays the like local detective who's like on the case, and she plays the FBI agent who has to sort of work with him. And they're both like, neither one of them could give a shit about being in this movie, and it shows. And like, she still has her like Hillary Clinton primary colors haircut, and they're both doing these really, really bad sort of Southern accents.
Oh,
and
good.
They're like really bored.
So fill me in.
That remark could be misconstrued as sexual harassment, Agent Hawkins.
Let's get it out of the way, then. You've never worked under a female superior before. I got to where I am by pushing paper and playing nice. I never let you fire a gun before. I'm only in this job to prove to my father I'm not a coward. I give decent heads. I got promoted before other worthy candidates, all of them men, all of them equally gifted at fellatio, but there was a gender quota to fill. I'm also stupid and idealistic. You are hard and cynical and usually right. I'm just secretly in love with you, but I have a hard time showing it. Did I skip anything?
You're a better driver than me, and I'm too proud to admit it.
You're right.
They know they're in a bad movie, and there is nothing they can do about it. And it's from the guy who directed... This was his feature debut, Sebastian Gutierrez. He would go on to direct Electra Lux and... what are some of these movies? I've never heard of.
I was going to say, like, what the...
Woman in Trouble, Rise, Bloodhunter, She Creature. Like, these are very, like...
I've seen She Creature. Carla Gugino's
really?
in that.
Carla Gugino. All
oh
over
my
it.
God, Carla Gugino and Rufus Sewell, yeah. So it's just, it's true blue
got so
garbage,
excited.
but not even fun. It's just a slog from, like... We were 2 minutes into this movie, and I was already just like, oh God. Because it starts, and, like, Gugino's doing this sort of, like, slow drawl of a voiceover. Like, she's essentially just, like, telling the story of, like, how it all began. And it's just, like, it's really, really bad. And Emma, for as much as I was waiting for her to just, like, oh, she'll be the bright spot in this movie, and she's just like, no, not this time, I won't. Like, I do not care to be in this movie at all. So... It was a pretty easy choice for my 1 star, just because it's brutal.
I wonder if her and Alan Rickman were like, should we just like do this for fun? Like,
honestly, like, I wonder if maybe that's how they like became very good friends, if they weren't already, is they were just like, God, like, we're the only 2 people who we can talk to on this whole set for this like brutal movie.
He's like, have you ever been to New Orleans?
Gavin, you want to pick yours?
I would love to.
Okay.
So my 1-star review, and we kind of breezed past this too, but even though I did take time to besmirch Christopher Hampton, is 2003's Imagining Argentina.
Oh, okay.
Imagining Argentina is based off a very famous novel by Lawrence Thornton, and it is essentially about what is known as the last military dictatorship in Argentina, which ran from 1976 to 1983. Antonio Banderas, my love.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Second time I've like been really negative about one of his films. He plays a children's theater director whose wife is a dissident journalist, and that's Emma Thompson.
Right.
I'm gonna come back to this. But essentially she gets taken by the government, and he develops psychic powers that allow him to see...
Psychic powers? Okay.
That allow him to see what is happening to these people that are taken by the government. But the only thing is his powers will not allow him to find out what is happening to... He can occasionally see what's happening to her, but not where she is.
Right. That's how that works.
Yeah. I totally could see this working as a novel. I'm sure it's wonderful. Nobody does magical realism better than South Americans. I'll be perfectly honest.
Yes.
So I'm sure it works gangbusters as a novel. In a movie, it comes off like he's doing his worst Christopher Walken in The Dead Zone, where he just like touches people and is like psychic visions. Emma Thompson truly takes the cake. And I feel really terrible because she was so passionate about when this movie got booed at Venice. She started doing positive press, and this was the last film released by the company that then became Focus Features, and they were quoted in an article as saying, "If anybody can save this movie, it's Emma Thompson." Because she was so passionate about doing press for these people. The 30,000 people disappeared during this military dictatorship. I mean, they were throwing bodies in the river. A lot of the people were former Nazis who moved to Argentina post World War II. Like it was a bad scene, and I get it, but Emma Thompson is not Latin. And and this is what I'm getting at. She is essentially in like very light brown face.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Does she put on an accent?
She does.
Like a Latina accent?
Right.
Just trying to help you.
Too late for help, wouldn't you say?
Don't think I like what goes on here.
I might be part of it.
It's my job. I've always been a prison guard, like my father.
I imagine the job must have changed a lot in the last few years, hasn't it?
Yes, out of all recognition.
Well then,
I have children. I need to work.
I am sure if you really wanted to, you could find something else to do.
But she can't do it.
No.
Because she's very British. So she just sounds Britishy. And on top of that, the things that are asked of her are so unpleasant that, like, essentially, sometimes you get Antonio Banderas having psychic visions of her being raped. And it's just close-ups of her face, as, or picking her daughter's rapist because they take his daughter at one point.
Jesus Christ.
And it was so upsetting. And she said in an interview that it's important that people know about the upsetting things.
It's actually very important to represent something in that sort of brutal, flat way. Because I think that's what it is. I think that's how it occurs.
But the rest of the movie is so just like, he's a man with psychic powers that it doesn't, it's the wrong venue for it.
Some like executive was like, what if we put some more psychic stuff in there?
Exactly. And the movie at the end, like it tries to really drive home, and it gives you a list of all the other major like travesties that are going on in the world and how many people have died during those and everything. And it's like, this film is dedicated to the lost.
Wow, they're really trying it.
Yeah, and I get as a piece of activism why you would want to make it, and I do think there are many British actors of her age that have their heart in the right place when they do things like this.
Yes.
But it's a disaster, and that subject deserves a better movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's bad in it. So, like, obviously, as I say every time we do this, I always try and pick the worst performance. My 1-star review is based on performance, and it's a bad movie that she's not good in.
There you go. Good job. Good pick. My 1-star review goes to 2013's The Love Punch. Any movie that's a quote-unquote comedy in which it fails to make her even a little bit funny is a slap in the face. Like, how dare. So she plays the ex-wife to Pierce Brosnan. His company gets bought out and then sold to like some psycho like a hedge fund bad guy character. I don't know, vague bank bad guy. They're like good friends, Timothy Spall and Celia Imrie, like other like funny supporting British people. There's a plot to like go steal a diamond.
Yeah, it becomes like a spy film.
It's a slapstick. I feel like this movie was definitely punching for the AARP crowd, because one of the gags is like they call their son on Skype so he can like hack things for them. And he like, to do the hacking, he's like, okay, I gotta go look at my other computer. And then he walks away and does the thing, I guess, and then comes back. He's like, all right, I got the codes or whatever. Also, one of the gags is like they start Skyping and like his roommate is like maybe jerking off.
His roommate's always jerking off.
Yeah.
It's not even maybe. He's clearly jerking off.
And I was like, the old people who made this movie don't understand how that works. Like, there's no way that you're like, what? That big screen of people staring at me? That's happening?
Is that his roommate, Tyler?
I think it is.
Oh, Tyler!
Close the door. Come on, son. Close it now.
Mr. and Mrs. J?
Yes, we're all here on Skype. Sorry.
It's deeply dumb, and it sucks because, like, the best part of Emma is, like, how intelligent and smart all of the comedy makes you feel. Like, she's very good at slapstick and, physical humor, but it's always just, like, wrapped in this lovely, smart, intelligent feeling. And, yeah, and I also don't think her and Pierce Brosnan had, like, great chemistry.
Oh, they don't have any chemistry, which is shocking because it's Pierce Brosnan.
I know. He only has chemistry, I feel like, when he's like really wearing like a hot suit.
Yeah, because we also had issue when we did Salma Hayek with the movie they did together.
Yeah.
So real quick though, I mean, one of the highlights of the movies, their daughter is played by Kate Middleton's cousin or something.
Really?
Oh. Yeah, like Pippa or Gemma or something like that. Yeah.
I wonder. We didn't talk about this in the rewind, but like. Emma Thompson has said that she's been like friends with the royals for like a long time.
Yeah, because she's known William since he was a baby.
Yeah, and so I don't know if she like knew Kate or whatever. But also she casually, when she went to go get her knighthood, damehood, whatever the fuck they call it, she wore sneakers.
Yeah,
like a boss ass bitch,
and a women's equal pay pin.
Come correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to talk about The Love Punch anymore. It's a very bad movie. It made no money.
Was there anything else that you guys saw that you perhaps didn't love? And this can be film or performance. She's got a couple in there. We mentioned Brideshead Revisited before. I think it's such a lovely novel that it's hard for me to watch a bad adaptation of it, but I do think she's the bright spot in it.
I think Junior's pretty bad.
Junior is really bad.
I don't think she gets a chance to show her best in that movie, and it's always funny to me that she got a Golden Globe nomination for it, because
that is insane.
Anna, please, don't be angry.
Why should I be angry? You lie to me, you steal from me, you engage in an utterly immoral, selfish, arrogant stunt without any regard for my feelings whatsoever. What am I supposed to be, grateful? This is just so male.
I also just think, like, watching Primary Colors today feels like an insane psycho trip where the movie is trying to be like, politics shouldn't be bad, and they're like, you gotta be bad to do the good, and it just feels so awful to be having that conversation,
right?
Because you know it's just happening in an echo chamber. Like, no one cares. You know, we are talking to ourselves like, how evil should we be to win? And it's like, no, but like, if we are evil, we're just like, I hate that conversation so much, and this movie is just that conversation.
Yeah.
So it just brought me down. Okay, maybe in like brighter, happier government times, I would feel differently, but I hadn't watched it before, and so watching it now, I was like, bleh.
Well, I think that wraps up our 1-star reviews, so
Yes.
why don't we move into our 5-star reviews?
All right, Joe, hit us. What do you got?
I mean, there's so much to choose from. I feel like I'm like throwing a dart at a board for like 4 or 5 of them. Having not rewatched The Remains of the Day, I think I'm gonna let that one sort of sit, and maybe one of you will pick it up. And Howard's End being like her Oscar-winning role feels a little obvious, so I am gonna go back to her performance in Love Actually, which I know, like, it's
wow.
Love Actually.
Yes,
but, like,
Is it Love
Joe.
Actually?
It's such a wonderful performance. And
She's really
it's
good
one
at
of those things where, like, in a movie like this, there's a billion characters and you're only going to get maybe 2 or 3 scenes to really show your stuff. And she's good in her other scenes. You could, like, she and Hugh Grant actually develop a really interesting brother and sister bond in, like, the very brief time we see them on screen together.
Hey. You all right?
What the hell are you doing here?
Well,
I always tell your secretary that these things are going on, but it never occurred to me you'd actually turn up.
Well, I thought it was about time I did. I just didn't want anyone to see, so I'm going to hide myself somewhere and watch the show. Good luck, Daisy. Good luck, Bernie.
I have to tell you, I've never been gladder to see my stupid big brother. Thank you.
All right. And then it's her and Neeson who are, like, pals, right? Like, they're right?
Yeah, I think she was, like, friends with his now deceased wife.
Right. And so, like, that's a really, like, cute scene, but then, like, you really, for the amount of time that she's given in this movie, to really pack the wallop that she does in that scene with her in the bedroom is just so good. And it's so, like, it's so impactful. And the fact that, like, this whole, like, I feel like this whole, like, generation of us who, like, were, in our early 20s or late teens or whatever, when people saw this movie, that we all remember it so, like, distinctly and, like, all revisit it when the movie is on TV again and again and again. And I think that means something. And I like the fact that I feel like that's, like, the millennial touchstone for Emma Thompson for a lot of people, that scene in that movie.
I also will say, like, obviously the great scene, but I also love her other scene where her kids are like, I'm playing the second lobster. And she's like, was there more than one lobster in the nativity scene?
Yes! It's a lot of, like, really cute stuff like that with the kids.
It's so cute.
There's the point where she's in the bedroom and she goes to, like, make sure her makeup is set. And it honestly looks like she's, like, pushing the tears back into her eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's quite good.
Yeah. Acting, ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Gavin, what do you got?
I'm going to go to 2001's Wit.
Good. I'm glad somebody did. Yeah.
I love Wit. I've loved it from the first time I saw it. It is a beautiful film, an absolutely beautiful, heartbreaking film. It is, it's not just sad, and I think that's a lot of people think about it as just sad.
Right.
Right.
It's not. It's first of all a gorgeous performance from Emma Thompson, and she has to really, like, it's a very careful balancing act of being theatrical, because it's very much a play, but the way that her and Mike Nichols have worked together to structure that to be more cinematic, but she does have to do so much direct address to the camera.
Yeah.
But it feels intimate and welcoming, and even though she's playing a character who is hard and perhaps not the most personable,
right,
it makes you feel like you're there with her, and you're watching somebody who is, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, trying to find the dignity in a disease that's robbing her of that dignity.
Yeah.
And the best part is, like, so first of all, reader, I also chose Wit.
Did you really? Shut the fuck up,
bitch.
Nice.
First of all, no, but what I have to say is, Audra McDonald's performance, like, God, like, the movie, like you were saying, they keep asking her, like, do you have anyone?
Right.
Do you, like, should we call? And, like, literally, she's like, I don't. I really,
Right.
And they don't really tell us much about, like, her family, I think. I can't
There's
recall.
some flashbacks to her childhood, but it's very...
Right.
but it's isolated.
Yeah.
It's not,
She's not, and what's... Yeah, I had not seen this before, but, like, the movie is also just, like, really this play, it's, like, about, how these people do not care about,
Right.
they are treating this disease, and, like, that last really climactic thing where there's, like, a student doctor character or whatever, and he, like,
Jonathan M. Woodward of Buffy the Vampire Slayer fame.
Thank you. He is, like, this character who is less interested in the human being and more interested in just, like, the disease, and, Audra McDonald's character is the perfect foil and, like, salve for that.
Yeah.
Because she is so loving and so emotional, and the physical the physicality of this performance. You see Emma Thompson wither into nothing on this.
She fully shaved her head.
Yeah,
for it.
I was devastated by this, and that's insane because Emma is known for being this like full of life, funny a character, and you get that at the beginning, right, when she's like kind of like there. She's even joking, like the doctor's like, "Do you have any questions?" And she's like, she's making jokes.
Yeah,
and seeing that transformation from the beginning to the end, it's and she's got the range.
Yeah, and it's not just for the plot of the movie. It's not a pleasant experience because you essentially know she has stage 4 cancer from the beginning. You essentially know she's going to die, and the question becomes, how is she going to die?
Yep.
Is it going to be through a pleasant means, or they sign her up for this clinical trial where it's basically like the highest extent of chemotherapy,
and
that
they want to keep giving her more and more, and it's this kind of like morality play, like it's just about, is it life worth living? And like because they are bombarding her with awful, horrible treatments, all in the sake of like medicine,
right?
Like instead of humanity.
And while they're treating the body, you get to watch the sort of the acceptance of her mind, giving into the fact that she will no longer be. It's heartbreaking.
We are discussing life and death, and not in the abstract either. We are discussing my life and my death. And I can't conceive of any other tone. Now is not the time for verbal swordplay. Nothing would be worse than a detailed scholarly analysis of erudition, interpretation, complication. Oh. Now is the time for simplicity. Now is the time for, dare I say it, kindness. I thought being extremely smart would take care of it. But I see that I have been found out.
I feel like you're better for having seen it if you have not seen it.
Yeah.
It's also a very underrated Mike Nichols movie in terms of like, I think he's somebody who is constantly underrated, especially for the way he's worked with women across his career, or the way he did across his career when he was alive. And I think this is such a great example of it because it's just like, it's not just the two of them. Like there are other people in the movie, obviously, but like it feels very much just like a dance between the two of them, and it's just incredible.
It absolutely is. I would recommend Wit any time, any day.
It's on like HBO Go right now, I believe. Obviously, I think like the triple punch of her like period stuff, Howard's End, Remains of the Day, and Sensibility are all like instant modern classics of these literary tales that like really cement Emma and her her legacy.
It's just so wild that was like a 4-year span where she managed to do all of that, and it's just like, holy crap. It's
a 4-year span where she's like going through divorce, like going through it, but like her star is rising to the top. And I also would just throw it, I mean, I've made it's no secret that I love Much Ado About Nothing. Yeah. And so I would add that in there too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel I almost didn't want to ask if there was anything else that you guys saw that you really liked her in, because
everything else.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like you could go on and on. Angels in America, which you brought up before, Joe. I think she's really amazing in playing multiple roles.
And also just the reams of dialogue she has to deliver as the angel that are very like stylized. That's where the dialogue gets very stylized and very intricate.
I am the bird of America. The bald eagle, continental principality, lumen, phosphor, fluor, candle. I unfold my leaves, bright steel in salutation, open sharp before you. Friar Walter, long descended, well prepared.
No, I'm not prepared for anything. I have lots to do.
And also she plays the angel as this sort of like over the top. Like, the balance of comedy and her stuff in that movie is really interesting because she has to play it very over the top and just to the side of you being able to laugh at it, but not like asking you for it. And it's really precise.
Before we move into our fast forward, though, yes. I do want to make sure that we get through our mixed reviews.
We always forget.
Yes, because we're terrible at remembering this. So my 1-star review was 2003's Imagining Argentina.
Mine was 2013's The Love Punch.
Mine was 1998's Judas Kiss.
And my 5-star review, which was also Louis' 5-star review, was 2001's Wit.
Ditto, yes.
Mine was honestly almost 2001's Wit, and I would have loved to have all of us to sort of like flip out at that revelation. But mine actually was 2003's Love Actually.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Love that for us. Love that for Emma.
Love that for us, yes.
Love Emma.
So let's get into our fast forward.
All right, so as you mentioned, we're doing this because Late Night is coming out. I actually have seen Late Night.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I went to a preview screening about 2 weeks ago. The Lincoln Center had some extra tickets. I won a contest, whatever.
Cool.
I called a radio station.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was all right. I thought Emma Thompson is the best thing about it. She really is.
I buy that. I mean, I was like, I absolutely would watch her, could see her being a late night host.
Yeah. She plays.
They don't let women be late night hosts. Come on now,
you're a fool.
Right, fair.
She plays a very tough, driven woman who is a bit of an anti-feminist. She doesn't get along with any other women, so she's never really had a woman on her writing staff that she hasn't fired. Mindy Kaling's character is a woman who works at a chemistry lab, who essentially, on a whim, she it's a complicated in the movie, you'll see it, but she gets hired as a writer, and it's really this back and forth between them about like cooling Emma's persona and making her more likable, and Mindy Kaling finding out what it takes to exist in this professional world.
I'm Tom. I write the monologue. I'm actually the youngest monologue writer in the history of the show.
No, I don't care.
No? Okay.
Do you know what? I'm not going to remember any of this, so here's what we're going to do. You're 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, Catherine.
Oh, Burdett, thank God. How's your baby?
She's 27. Her baby's doing well. She's just started preschool. She's,
Never mind. I don't want to know. I don't know why I asked, actually. You're 5, 6, 7. That's what I'm going to call you all from now on. It's just easier.
It steals a lot of beats from Devil Wears Prada. Obviously, like, that is clearly the if you could see into the matrix of the movie. But Emma Thompson's much softer than the Meryl Streep's Miranda character, because she has to be, because she's the secondary lead in the film. There's some turns I don't like. I'm not going to get into all of them, but I mean, Emma Thompson's really the star of the show.
What I love, though, is that this is like the kickoff for like the return of Emma.
Yes.
Because I guess we had it, like, she's been doing these little things here and there. Children's Act was like a kind of small thing that no one saw. And so we've got this, and then she's also got like
Men in Black International, which comes out like 2 weeks later.
Yeah. And then, which is a huge Hollywood thing, which she doesn't do often. And then after that, she's got Last Christmas.
Yes,
Can we talk about Last Christmas for a second?
Yes, please.
I'm so excited.
I mean, first of all, we're talking about it. I know we're talking about it for Emma, but also Henry Golding. Oh,
yeah.
Also, like, let's just appreciate this cast. It's Emma Thompson, Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, Henry Golding, and Michelle Yeoh reunited yet again after Crazy Rich Asians. Patti LuPone's in this movie, motherfuckers.
I didn't know that.
Patricia?
And yeah, look at that cast on Wikipedia, yo. And it's directed by Paul Feig, who, like...
hello?
Yeah.
I can no longer say, like, can do no wrong, because, like, he's...
Right.
Whatever. In general, Paul Feig's movies are fucking awesome. Like...
I just want to point it out, too. It's called Last Christmas because it's a filmic adaptation.
Yes. Oh, yes.
of the George Michael song.
Of the titular Wham song.
Yes. So, I mean,
I can't wait for that song just to
I'm
be like
so
on
excited
repeat
for this movie.
I watched an interview with her where it was like an Entertainment Tonight interview, so there's lots of pumping music in it. And the host is like, this is going to become a Christmas classic, and she's like, I think I'm just going to jump off this bridge right now.
I fucking love her so much. She gives good interview.
She does. Oh, absolutely. I mean, she's so smart and so witty and so wry, and so I don't know. I've heard her talk about like how comedy is different for women than it is men on many different occasions. She has this whole theory about how like comedy's like orgasm. For men it's like one and done, and for women it's like it builds and then maybe it's not funny anymore and then it's really funny for a little bit and then so
I feel like the Emma Thompson renaissance is upon
she
us.
also did a voice in Missing Link, which came out earlier this year.
True.
And she's got this TV movie that HBO is doing.
Oh yeah, Years and Years, which is
it's a miniseries, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's Russell T Davies, who was the man who single-handedly brought Doctor Who back in the early 2000s, and
also did Queer as Folk.
Queer as Folk, exactly. I was going to say the real reason he's famous, actually, and I'd say that with no slight. That's and it's actually started airing in England already.
Really?
I think they're through the first 3 episodes because it's a co-production. And she plays like a Donald Trumpian politician.
I don't want to tell the story. I do not want to tell the story, but everyone knows the story. She got asked out on a date by Donald Trump.
I didn't know this story.
Hello. She after Donald Trump became president, she's gone on like the late night stuff, and she's like, when they were doing Primary Colors, she got a call to her trailer and she was like, I didn't even know we had a phone in the trailer. I don't know how he got my phone number in the trailer.
So I lift up the phone. Hi, it's Donald Trump here. I said, really? He said, yeah, I just, I wondered if I could offer you some accommodation in one of my Trump towers. They're really comfortable. What? Well, I think we would get on very well. Maybe we could have dinner sometime. Okay, well, I'll get back to you.
But yeah, and it's so fucking weird. She plays in this Years and Years thing where she's this kind of like very white.
Yeah, she's
right wing.
Yeah,
nationalist character.
Yeah, she's very much a combination of Theresa May and Donald Trump.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like looking at like the country as it changes over X amount of years and kind of the horrors that await us all.
Yeah.
Russell Tovey is in it, and Rory Kinnear is in it, and Russell Tovey playing gay, which is, nice.
Always preferred.
Yes.
My preferred spice on him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so she's certainly not hurting for work, and she's not going anywhere. She's a woman who just turned 60, which is unbelievable.
I know.
Whatever she's doing as her skincare routine, because someone like her who is so body positive, it's not any sort of... Yeah, so it's
she's
just like,
aging
tell me what you're putting on your face.
She is aging with full grace.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I like that she has gone to the sort of very sort of light blonde to the point of sometimes her hair is white and it's very much the year that my mom and my aunts all decided to stop coloring their hair all at once, and I was very proud of all of you.
Yeah, it's great. I think there's still a lot more in store for us
absolutely.
with her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I can't wait to see if she's got some more writing things that she wants to do.
Normally
that's the other thing about Last Christmas is I think she's got a writing. She wrote that screenplay, right?
She did. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so normally in the show, this is where I'd ask, what do you want to see from Emma? I almost feel like it's pointless to ask because, first of all, she's not going to listen to any of us. She's going to do whatever the fuck she wants.
Yes,
but also, she's doing it. She's, she's doing comedy. She's doing drama. She's writing again,
And she's good. And she's back on HBO doing this miniseries.
I will say the one thing I actually do, now that I've said we can't tell her what to do, for years and years, there has been a rumor that she wrote a script for an updated version, or not an updated version, but a reinterpretation of My Fair Lady, the musical.
No shit.
Because obviously it's notoriously anti-feminist.
Yes.
I want whoever gets that made, I want to see that because I actually do really like the music in My Fair Lady and wouldn't mind seeing
it's a problematic fave.
Yeah, a better version of that.
Yeah, I would also. I mean, she was such a hoot on stage here. I would love to see her come back to do another show on Broadway.
Yes.
Please, Emma, we need you.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But Joe, do you have any last thoughts or things as we wrap up Emma Thompson?
I mean, I think I mentioned it earlier. I would love to see her and Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie get together for another thing again. I think that would be really fun. I think that would be very cool. And I mean, in the she's never going to be able to make another movie with Mike Nichols again, obviously, but sort of somebody find a director. I would love for her to find a director who she can make like multiple movies with, who can sort of like, they can like, take some chances and explore some different, different shades in different areas. I think that'd be very fun.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So Joe, now that we've wrapped up the episode, where can we find you online? Because I know you have a finger in several different pots at the moment.
So many places, yes.
It's like, don't be disgusting, Gavin.
My
podcast.
The whole time. Oh my God, you should do a Sally Field episode. That would be amazing.
Oh, we will. I have the book. It's around here somewhere.
Yeah.
I think I gave it to you.
No, I bought it for my mom, but my fucking niece and nephew, the 9-year-old and 7-year-old, also bought it for her, so I had to keep my copy.
9-year-olds and 7-year-olds should be like, you can get away with way worse gifts, and they shouldn't be able to steal the good gifts. I'm sorry.
I know.
That's
Thank you.
Exactly. Make her a macaroni thing.
Yes, thank you. That she'd be fine with that.
A little hand turkey, whatever.
A little hand turkey for Christmas, exactly. You guys mentioned my podcast, This Had Oscar Buzz, which you should all go listen to because I think it's really fun. And I think you'd really like it. We've got some good ones coming up. I don't know when this podcast goes up, but our next episode might be Rendition. We're doing Rendition because it's Reese Witherspoon and Meryl Streep. And so in honor of Big Little Lies,
yes, of course,
get that one out there. We've got some fun stuff. Our 50th episode is coming up. We did.
Oh my God.
We've got some stuff in store for there where I think we're going to do a listener poll to decide what we're going to talk about for that episode. And it's going to be fun. That's also on Twitter at had_Oscar_Buzz. I am on Twitter at Joe Reid, Reid spelled R-E-I-D. And I'm managing editor for a site about television called Primetimer that if you want to check that out too, I'm sure my bosses there would be very happy if you did. So
yes, congratulations with all that. It's
thank you.
Fun times.
Yeah, fun new job.
So I guess that wraps us up. So you can find us online on Twitter at
The Mixed Reviews.
At The Mixed Reviews. We're on Facebook. Just type in The Mixed Reviews.
You can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
Yeah, and you can listen to us everywhere. Write us a little love note.
Yeah. If you listen to us on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, you can rate and review us. Please give us a 5-star review and write something nice. Right? Tell us how much you love Emma Thompson.
But in the voice of Jane Austen.
Yes, exactly. Please. Yes, that is our challenge to you. Write us a review in the voice of Jane Austen.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to go away for another 2 weeks, and when we come back, we're going to have another subject.
Yep, there you go. So thanks, guys, for listening.
Yes, and thank you, Joe, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
By the sea, with the fishy splashing. By the sea, wouldn't that be smashing? Down by the sea.
Anything you say, anything you say.
I can see us waking, the breakers breaking, the seagulls squawking. Ooh, ooh, I do me baking, then I go walking with you. Ooh, 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 I warm me bones on the esplanade, have tea and scones with me gay young blade. Then I'll knit a sweater while you write a letter, unless we've got better to do.
Anything you say.